You know how it's said that there can only be one jungle king? There were two lions fighting for the crown in the NBA in the 1980s, Michael Jordan and Larry Bird. The world was enthralled with the legendary rivalry between these two basketball giants. However, on a fateful night in March 1987, Bird made sure Jordan and the other players in the league knew who was in charge. For Larry Bird, there was more to being a king than merely holding the throne. It was all about outperforming everyone, rivaling your position and becoming the greatest at what you do. Challengers to his dominance were not appreciated by Bird, who was seen as a harsh, prickly player who might become enraged if someone mistreated him. According to a fellow professional, 95% of 273 NBA players surveyed felt Larry Bird was the dirtiest player in the league. Now, in order to understand this narrative completely, let's travel back in time and establish the scene. Let's look into the NBA in the 1980s, when legends like Magic Johnson, Isaiah Thomas, and Larry Legend himself dominated the scene. You see, Bird was a force of nature as well as a skilled basketball player. Ever since he took the floor in the NBA in 1979, he has been changing the rules. There has never been a player with the determination and skill of this little forward from French Lick, Indiana. He was a genius with the pass, a huge man on the rebound, and a scorer from any place. Bird was a real hardwood renaissance guy. Bird was already regarded as one of the best basketball players of all time by the middle of the 1980s. He was the unquestioned king of the NBA, having led the Boston Celtics to 3 titles and 3 MVP trophies in a row. He was indeed the first player in history to win MVP 3 times in a row. After his historic three-peat, Bird stated, "I really don't feel that my career is over, but I'm really proud to receive this award for the 3rd time. I believe I have one more win left." A young shot by the name of Michael Jordan burst onto the scene just when he felt he had solidified his reputation as the greatest in the sport. The NBA has never seen somebody like Jordan before. He was able to soar through the air, using his explosive dunks and acrobatic feats to defy gravity. And he could score, man. Jordan was outscoring opponents by 30, 40, and even 50 points each game. All of a sudden, this Chicago high-flying phenomenon was posing a danger to the throne that Bird had inhabited for so long. Everything was in place for a titanic showdown. Jordan was an athletic, explosive rookie phenomenon who was pitted against the intelligent, talented veteran Bird. In the 1986 playoffs, they engaged in their first genuine fight, which was rather intense. Jordan was considered to have given one of the best performances in the rivalry's history, scoring points at will against the Celtics' renowned defense. Everyone was led to assume that Jordan was superior to other players when he made the comment. However, Bird and his season's Celtics team ultimately triumphed, indicating that the guard was not going to change just yet. For Bird, being the greatest basketball player in history had been his life's work, and suddenly this 23-year-old rookie who was scoring 37 points a night was rivaling him for the title. Though his name was spoken in the same sentence as Bird's, the premier player for the Celtics wouldn't let Jordan's rise pass him without a battle. Bird made $650,000 a year as the highest paid rookie in the league when he was selected by Boston in the 1979 NBA draft. Upon his debut, he got himself a significant impression, placing 4th in the MVP vote. He finished as the runner-up for MVP 3 times in a row and won his first title in 1981 throughout the course of the next 3 years. Bird averaged 22.6 points, 10.9 rebounds, and 5.7 assists per game between 1979 and 83. But after the summer of 83, Bird experienced a shift. He evolved from being maybe the league's second best player to an utterly renowned athlete who was far more gifted than his enduring opponent, Magic Johnson. Thus started an amazing 3-year run for Bird from 1983 to 86, during which he reached previously unheard of heights. He established himself as arguably the best all-around player the game has ever seen, by earning 3 consecutive MVP awards, capturing another title in 1984 while also taking home the trophy for Finals MVP. Bird continued to be an outstanding defender while averaging 26 points, 10.1 rebounds, and 6.7 assists per game. Over those magnificent 3 seasons, which were the peak of his career, he was fundamentally altering our understanding of what a tiny forward is capable of. His signature 3-point shot was not only groundbreaking because it allowed him to spread the floor as a power forward, but he also became a genuine two-way leader for the Celtics because of his amazing passing abilities. Simply put, no big man had ever been able to blend the agility of a perimeter player with the talents of an inside power like Larry Bird. When he didn't have the ball in his hands, he was one of the league's most dangerous players because because of his off-ball movement and ability to generate gravity with his shooting range. This takes us full circle to that fateful night on March 27, 1987, when Bird reminded everyone, including a then young Michael Jordan, who was still in charge. With the 51-19 record, the Celtics traveled to Chicago to take on Jordan's ailing Chicago Bulls team, who were 35-35. It was clear from the first tip that Bird was going to teach Jordan what it meant to be an MVP. Oh, and his off-ball movement and fakes took aback Jordan and the Bulls' defense. When paired with his exceptional long and mid-range shooting ability, Bird was extremely deadly. In addition, his relentless repertoire of low-post maneuvers left opponents wondering. In the meantime, Jordan started to see how much Boston's swarming defense was focusing on him. Several Celtics gathered to block the youthful sensation each time he made contact with the ball. Bird seized the opportunity, scoring easily off the ball and at a close range from the post. The Bulls soon realized that the only way to beat Jordan was to treat him like opponents had treated Bird, as Jordan averaged 37 points per game in a simulated NBA final. Bird outscored the Bulls over the opening 2 quarters of his own with a huge 33-point first half. It was a masterful performance that reminded us that Larry Bird was still the player to beat in the NBA, even in the later stages of his career. Throughout the second half, Bird consistently produced tremendous plays, either on offense or defense, to halt the Bulls' momentum whenever they began to build momentum. And the Chicago Bulls were fortunate to lose by a score of 135-131, as the Celtics emerged victorious. The last words of Bird? Just a carefree 41 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, and a comprehensive demolition of his youthful opponent. It was a statement game that reminded Jordan and the rest of the world who was still in charge, and it was one of Bird's best performances in his illustrious career. Following the game, Bird's masterwork was praised as maybe his most famous performance and a demonstration that he remained the NBA's gold standard for brilliance. Even though Jordan was clearly the league's future face, Larry Legend had the better of the evening. Naturally, that was not where the tale ended. A few weeks later, the Celtics and the Bulls faced each other again in the playoffs, and this time Bird's wisdom and experience paid off as Boston comfortably won the series. For the time being, the veteran team, captained by the league's most important player, outmatched Jordan's young zeal. And we all know how that story ended. Jordan used the knowledge that Bird imparted to him as fuel to reach previously unachievable levels of performance. He developed into a more well-rounded player who was capable of defeating both with his extraordinary scoring ability and his just all-around skill. Jordan eventually defeated Bird for the title of Boss of Basketball, establishing himself as maybe the greatest player of all time. But in the midst of his own legendary career, on that March night in Chicago, Larry Bird delivered his most recent and maybe last reminder that, at least for the time being, he remained the star around which all others revolved. Not quite, but it was a passing of the torch. Before the young lion could really claim to be the king, he needed to gain a bit more respect. And there you have it, folks, the epic tale of how Larry Bird asserted his dominance over the young Michael Jordan on that fateful night in March 1987. It was a performance for the ages, a masterclass in skill, determination, and sheer basketball brilliance that reminded everyone why Bird was the reigning king of the NBA. What do you think of Larry Bird's epic performance against Michael Jordan that night? And if you enjoyed reliving this iconic basketball moment and want to see more videos breaking down the careers and legendary games, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel.